What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 144 of the Burnout Brighter podcast. As you can hear, my lovely, sultry voice, I am not Matt. I am your guest host, Darren, and I will be helping you for
You
this.
are not a guest host. Stop.
Well, even if I...
He's
okay.
the host, Darren. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stop that. Yes. Okay.
You know, I am always overly formal. I'm a formal, humble man.
That's true.
But I will be filling in Matt's shoes. Matt is dealing to some family matters. So, as you could hear, I am joined by the loveliest co-host, Destiny,
Hey.
and the equally lovely, sultry Lou Mad Seedling.
What's up, folks? Good to be here. Good to see you all.
Oh, I'm happy to be here too, because we are going to be talking about my favorite thing, my favorite time of year, E3 season, when there is no such thing as E3. So we're instead talking about Summer Games Fest and showcases and a bunch of weird stuff. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. But before we start, I have to ask, and I have to start with Destiny, because it's been quite some time since I saw your lovely face. Destiny, what is new?
It has. Yo, I've just been working a lot. Sorry, I'm getting beeped and stuff because I'm popular now. No.
You got
it's
cool
been
in my
great.
absence, I see.
I got cool in I was already cool, come on. But no, it's been incredible. There's been just a lot of growth for me specifically. I finally put it up on Twitter and I finally updated my LinkedIn, and I didn't want to announce it until I had done that. But I am the marketing manager at Freedom Games now. So
Yes!
been getting into that. Yeah, getting into that.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I appreciate it. Learning the ropes and everything like that. They're a great company to work with. Super dope guys. And getting all of that ready for Summerfest and helping with that, and promoting and cross-promoting. And I think what has been the most kind of exciting thing for me, and I know we're going to talk about it later, was the fact that I had to prep and kind of host with Derek Fields, who we've had on before.
Yeah.
His game is Waking Oni, so go check that out if you haven't checked it out. But hosting Black Voices in Gaming, which was absolutely incredible because it was during June, and we celebrate Juneteenth here in the United States. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a day of celebration where slaves who had not been freed yet, in Texas specifically, I believe it was June 19th or June 18th, 1886, finally got their freedom. So that's why we celebrate it here. It's one of the oldest celebrations for the Black community, the African American community, which is incredible because going to a school in a predominantly white state, Tennessee, I had no idea about it. I didn't know about it until later. So yeah. So I think that's just been what I've been up to, just trying to make sure I do the best that I can at Freedom, trying to make connections with other content creators and streamers and things like that. And it's been a hell of a ride.
You say that's all you've been doing, but Jesus Christ, it sounds like you've been busy. You've been hustling. That's a lot that you're doing.
Yeah. Still working with Justin with Interrobang, with Jay and Silent Bob, and working on their email campaign, and doing all the stuff that we need to do for Burnout as well. So yeah,
it's a lot of hats. It's so many hats. I don't know how you have room in
hats.
your closet to fit that many hats. Do you
I
store
have no
hats
love
in your
life.
closet? Where do you store your hats? I don't know where you put hats.
Actually, you know what? I store them. I guess you can, but I store my hats in BMO back here. So it's really weird that you brought that up, but they're all in BMO.
I've always admired the BMO in the background.
It's amazing.
Thank you. I love him.
Yeah,
Funny
Bean was
story, I
great.
got him at the first Comic-Con in Seoul, the first one that they had in Seoul.
Really?
Yeah, so
Very
that's
cool.
where I got him from.
I didn't know that Comic-Con was
Back
also
when I
that
was still
recent
in
in
South
Seoul.
Korea.
It hasn't been around for that long.
It was probably like 4 years ago.
I really wish
Because
I
they
went
basically
while I
brought
was
the one
there.
that they do in, yeah, you should have. Like, it's basically like they brought it over from, San Diego Comic-Con, like the really huge one. It wasn't as big the first year, but now I think it's grown a lot.
Very
But yeah,
nice.
that's what I've been up to. And I'm kind of tired of talking about myself. So
So
can we throw
Destiny,
it
I'm
to
going to ask you
Lou?
like
Like,
10
Lou,
more
what have you,
questions about you
what?
before I move on to Lou
No,
then.
no, Lou, what have you? I heard you drop some music, and you. I know we talked about it a little bit, but let's just like keep pushing it because you don't like to plug yourself that often. Tell us about the music, Lou.
Sure.
Music
Yes.
man.
So I dropped a single a few weeks ago called Lazy Bones, and it made it onto Spotify's biggest lo-fi playlist, which is called Lo-Fi Beats. It's got
Yes.
over 4.6 million listeners,
Oh my
and
That's
god,
amazing.
since then, my numbers have skyrocketed.
he's
Um,
gonna be famous, guys.
as
Lou, don't
famous as
leave
you
us when
can
you get
be
famous.
in the lo-fi scene, which is known for anonymity, which is not does not lend itself well to being famous, but it's a great opportunity nonetheless. And my numbers have gone crazy. Before I got on the playlist, I was hovering around like 11,000 monthly listeners, and now I'm at 110,000.
That's
So
freaking
He
insane.
says he's
yeah,
like, you can't really be famous, but I went from 11,000 to over 100,000. Shut up! That's so dope.
yeah, it is pretty dope. I'm so fortunate. Big thanks to Chill Moon Music, who I released the single with them, and of course Spotify and Spotify for Artists for choosing the song to go on their playlist. Um, Great opportunity, and super happy. It won't always be like this, Once the song comes off the playlist, the numbers will go back down to a more reasonable level, but for now, I'm just soaking it in and hoping to retain some of those listeners. Um, and of course, more music is on the way. I'm dropping another single on June 30th, and then July 4th, July 15th, July 30th. So a bunch of new music coming out. Always working on new tracks. Yeah, so music has been going really well. Probably the high point of my this entire Mad Seedling project is right now. So
It's
very happy about
awesome.
that.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad that we're like here to like hear about the news and share it. And also, I think I'm gonna ask Matt to play a little bit of that song that you dropped at the end, so our listeners
Yeah.
can check it out and then follow you because, like, why not? You know.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you very
Y-
much. I appreciate that, guys.
Your music is awesome. It deserves to be heard. We'll play a little bit of it for our listeners. And I'm
You
kind
jam
of
on.
jealous of how productive
Sorry.
you've both been. I'm happy that Destiny, you're not the
What are
only
you
one.
talking
I'm happy
about?
that I'm not the only one that does weird motions while I'm talking as well.
Oh no,
Um,
I do it too.
do a little wave. But yeah, you both been so busy because like normally when we say like what's new, what's been going on, it's like, oh, I've been playing some games. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, you've been actually doing significant things with your lives, which is amazing.
What have
I've
you
not.
been doing?
I have been sitting on my couch for like 7 hours at a time playing Horizon Forbidden West. Um,
I mean,
I,
like, that's still okay. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. No comparisons here.
no, it's been a long
That brings
time
you
coming,
joy.
to be honest. Sorry, what was that, Lou?
Yeah, you've been working really hard.
If that brings you joy, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
It's
I'm here
true.
with Lou.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Plus, while
been,
we were all like playing games, you were working to get your degree.
and that's exactly what, like, I mean, I think when I say it's been a long time coming, because I've just been so busy. Like, I think I've needed this time to just like reset my brain and have some fun. I did actually get my first contract for a teaching position, not a live teaching position, a recorded teaching position. where I'm kind of creating some content for some courses and for some students. But that's something, and I'm very excited to like already be using my degree for something. Already this degree has been more immediately useful to me than my previous one. So we're making progress there. I do have to say though about Horizon Forbidden West, I haven't decided yet if I like it better than the first game or not, because like it's been a really slow start to this one.
Mm.
And the story premise is cool, but like, damn, there are a lot of like glitches and like just random weird stuff, like talking to somebody and their body disappeared, killing an enemy,
Oh.
and they like T-pose and like float off into the sky. Um,
The Jesus pose.
it's just like just flying away. Not really a glitch, but just like an annoying thing. Every time I'm riding my robot horse, it gets stuck on every single freaking twig on the ground. Like I'll be running full gallop and then just dead stop. Oh, I hit a tiny rock. Like, oh, it frustrates me. And this is like one of these things.
Have you
that
recorded?
It's like, no, I
any of
haven't
those
recorded.
issues?
Next time it happens, I've got to record it. Because there was a funny one that happened today too,
Yeah.
where I finished a cutscene, and then all of a sudden, as soon as the cutscene finished, the guy I was talking to started like sprinting away, like at top speed. And then I looked around, and everyone in the town was all of a sudden like running at top speed, like they were attacked by something that wasn't there. And then they just started like running in circles, and then sort of reset
That's
themselves.
weird and creepy.
It's the more extravagant our games become, like the more things like this stick out in my brain as we like hit that uncanny valley area.
Oh, yeah. It totally gave me like Westworld vibes where like,
Yeah.
we're surrounded by like androids and they just start doing weird shit and nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah.
I am not ready for that. I will never ever go to a park like that. I'm just putting that out there. That and Jurassic Park, which I think is ridiculous, and I know at some point some billionaire is gonna make dinosaurs, and then and it's like we had movies about this,
But
several of why it won't work.
We were warned.
Yes.
Yeah, we were warned, but the problem is these movies are warning us, and at the same time, they're making dinosaurs look super friggin' cool.
Yeah. But I don't even think that's what dinosaurs actually look like. I think we've learned that a lot of them are covered in feathers. So
yeah,
maybe people will just get disappointed and be like, oh, it's just a giant ostrich.
Yeah. That would be very human to like give up on something because there was like some tiny, stupid, like shallow thing wrong with it. It's like, we're not going to do this.
Yeah. Imagine a T-Rex not looking like how we thought a T-Rex would look.
Just kids
right?
everywhere
People would
start
be
crying
upset.
simultaneously.
What the fuck is this? Is this Big Bird? Get the fuck out of here. Right? I haven't even drank anything today. This is just me all day.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm hydrating myself with this obviously water that there's nothing inside it. It's just water.
Listen, people will believe that about you, Darren, because you barely ever drink on our podcast.
That's true. I
so when you said that at first, I was like, it is water.
I know I exude goody two shoes Boy Scout energy on the podcast, but I like to think that
You do.
I'm quite the bad boy behind the scenes.
I mean, like, the haircut is definitely giving me like some Vin Diesel vibes, like it gives you a bit of an edge. If you were wearing a Hawaiian shirt, I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be like, who's this?
This shirt's like almost, it's got like, it's close, it's getting Hawaiian-esque, but without the actual full flowers. I will transition to Vin Diesel at some point, I swear.
Oh my god. Can't wait for that. Watch, Matt is gonna love this.
Yes, enough about me transitioning to Vin Diesel, and let's get on to the proto-topic to our topic, because as you alluded to, Destiny, we need to address the fact that you hosted Black Voices in Gaming, which is a huge deal.
Yeah, no, incredibly honored that I got to do it and work with like a great team. And meet some incredible content creators. Like the vibe of everybody was just so nice and so chill. And we had some like technical issues, but I mean, like that happens when you're streaming and people are in different locations. So I hope that
Yeah.
the people watching from home understood that. I could see
Derek
that
was
some of
definitely
them didn't
frozen for a good
understand
amount
that.
of time, but it was okay.
Yeah. But it was fine. You know what I mean? Like he looks beautiful frozen or animated, so it didn't
Of
really
course.
matter. Um but no, it was just such an incredible experience, especially like I brought up June being a celebration for African Americans and us being able to put on that show during June, so close to Juneteenth. And also being able to touch base a little bit on what happened in Buffalo, New York, in the shooting, and kind of sending our condolences and our hearts out to those who are affected by that situation. And really, like, I believe, like, the entire African American community and just Black people in America. And I say that because some people, which you may not know, I'm going to explain that, don't like to consider themselves African American. They specifically say I'm from Jamaica or I'm from da, da, da. So
Mhm.
so just encompassing all of that. Any person who's a minority or a person of color was definitely affected by that. You know what I mean? Not to say
Yeah.
that white people weren't, but it's a different kind of feeling, right?
Yeah. Of course.
And we've just had so much tragedy lately. So this was like a very um, nice, bright spot. And something else I wanted to bring up is that Black Voices in Gaming is now moved from a showcase into a nonprofit. So they're helping
Yes.
a lot of people, right, come together, find publishers, funding, so that they're able to succeed with their games and put them out there in the world. And I also wanted to say that it's not just Black people who are on Black Voices in Gaming. It's just we're taking the minorities who are in the industry and giving them a place to stand and shine and be heard. The reason why it's called Black Voices in Gaming is because it kind of came up during the time back in 2020 when the incident with George Floyd happened. And it was just a huge push for like Black Lives Matter and getting these companies to kind of address their lack of representation within the industry. So that is why it's called Black Voices in Gaming. But be assured that it's not just Black people, like it's minorities who haven't had a chance to be seen. And so being a part of that movement, you know, that that's something that I've always found really important. I've always held it really dear to my heart. So being part of it, like I said, was an absolute honor. I hope I get chosen again. I had a great time, and anything to help the culture for the people, like
Yeah.
I'm about it. So
No, it's so amazing to have a show like this. And I know you gave like a bunch of qualifiers and stuff, but it is really important to have a show like this to spotlight the people that are not normally represented in video games.
right,
When you look at all these big shows, and I think it also showed itself to some degree, although I think the industry is getting slowly better at it in terms of front facing representation, but you still saw a lot of
right,
shows this year in this past week where the people that were presenting the material were white people. So
yes,
we need spaces to highlight the people that don't get represented. Um,
right,
and uh, what I like about the Black Voices in Gaming showcase as well is that it's not just a bunch of trailers. You have these interviews and like first I also want to say Destiny, you did an incredible job. Like I loved your
thank
hosting style.
you.
And I'm not just saying that because you're
Thank
my
you.
friend and you're also a host on this show. Um
Thank you. I was nervous. I was
you couldn't
definitely
even
nervous.
tell. You couldn't even tell. I
Really? Okay, good, good.
like the because I think everyone listening to this should go and watch the showcase because it's very entertaining. But it, like as you said, it has a bit of a rough start because of the technical issues, but you handled that very well, and I could tell you were like possibly thrown off. You're like, oh God, what am I gonna do? But you just like you killed it. You did such a good job. Um,
Thank you. Yeah. Because they'll talk to you in the microphone, but the so
yeah, what
it's
happened? What was that like?
Tracy.
What was going on in the mic when all that stuff was going on?
Okay, so it was Tracy and Dean, and I'm pretty sure I got that right. I know Tracy because Tracy has like the smoothest voice ever. Listen, like I absolutely love that man's voice. Hopefully he never watches this. I love your voice. It's so smooth. It's like butter. But anyways, so I was expecting to hear Tracy telling me what to do, right? But it was Dean, and Dean's voice is so soft. I don't know if he realizes that, but it's really soft. So he said something, and I'm sure you could see on my face. And I think he was saying, hold on, we need you to stall. We're having issues. But all I heard was, hold on. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? And so, like, they were having issues bringing Justin on. So, what was supposed to happen is we were supposed to bring Adam on. And I'm watching this live as you guys are watching it live. And all of a sudden, I see Derek disappear. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so I'll just like keep the ball rolling because they're like, stall, stall. And I'm like, okay, so hey, da, 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 da. And we were supposed to introduce Justin because Justin is part of the Humble Bundle committee. And as you know, Adam's game got basically picked up to be published by Humble Bundle, which is an amazing
Yeah.
thing because I think this is the first time they've ever done it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know you will if you're listening. But so he was supposed to
Adam's
come
game is
in,
Delta,
and
by the way, right?
yes, it is. It's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. I love it. Female protagonist. Yes, yes, yes. I'm all about it. But and we'll talk more about that later. But so Justin was supposed to come in and kind of talk about it because the committee from Humble Bundle wanted him to come in and kind of introduce and be like, hey, like let's talk about the fact that you just got picked up to be published. So I was waiting for Derek to get back so that we could introduce him together. But whatever happened is they brought Justin in and didn't bring Derek back, couldn't get Derek back. So Justin was just like, hey, I'm just going to jump in here. And I was like, okay. Because I was supposed to introduce him, but they didn't tell me like, okay, we're bringing on Justin. Right.
Right.
So I didn't know when he was popping in, he was just there. And I was just like, all right, well, let's just go with it. And I think as I was doing it, because there were so many technical issues, and I'm not sure why in the beginning. That kind of, I think for me, I was nervous at the beginning, but then once that happened, like I was so concerned on just doing it the right way and like trying to make sure everything went as smoothly as possible and kind of handling the show while Derek was like freezing and coming in and out. I think that just kind of took over basically, and my nervousness just went out the window. And it was kind of like, I'm just going to do this like I do our podcast. Like I'm just going to be friendly and talk to people and vibe with people, and that's how we're going to do it. And I'm not going to say I studied the other shows because I didn't. All right. But I wanted to be a little different than the other shows. Like, you know how we do when we have guests on.
Of course.
We want them to feel like family. We want them to feel absolutely comfortable with us.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was going for with every guest. Evidently, I made one of them feel like, I think it was the last guest, and I can't remember his name, Jordan Scott. When he got onto me for not knowing what that anime was.
Hunter x Hunter.
I just went in. Yeah. And so then Tracy messaged me and he's like, bruh, like you were going in on him. Like, he started it. Okay. But yeah, no. Other than that, it was great.
Well, that right there though is what I enjoyed about the show, because like when you think about like, you know, a developer showcase, you think it's very like professional, well put together. And okay, maybe let me rephrase that. It was very professional and well put together. I don't want to make it sound like it wasn't, but like the vibe of it was very casual. Like you're just having conversations with the developers. It was not a heavily moderated show, which made it more interesting to listen to because you could get genuine reactions from the developers and you can humanize them. You can make them feel like people, not just like company heads, because they're not. They're indie developers. They're passionate about their project, but they're like passionate about a lot of things. And it's great to get those passions from them. So
yeah, no, it was incredible. I know Justin hit me up to write the script. So I wrote the script for the show, which was not that wild, but and then I just put key points of things that I wanted to talk about. So for me and Derek, so it was just kind of like we're going to bring these topics up, but it doesn't have to necessarily be like, boom, when did you start doing this game? Boom,
Yeah.
how do you feel about this? Boom. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we just wanted it to like flow.
Yeah.
And I think we did an incredible job with that. So everybody, like, at the end, just like really, all the people that we interviewed just were really chill and really liked the experience. And that's kind of what I wanted them to walk away with. I didn't want them to feel nervous. And I think we achieved that.
See, with
Totally.
with Lou over here getting famous off his music, and you, D, you're getting
know.
famous. You're becoming a famous host and an industry person. There's gonna be a moment. I mean, well, this is weird because we have already interviewed Lou on his own episode,
Yeah.
but we're gonna interview him again with more fanfare when he becomes more famous.
Yeah.
And Destiny,
Absolutely.
we got to have a episode where we interview you, like you're this famous
That's gonna be
celebrity
wild.
guest.
I'm gonna come up drunk. Just know that. I'm gonna be lit when I
Where's
come
my
on.
craft
Because
services?
I won't have to focus. I won't have to focus. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Because it's
So.
the questions are all about you.
Yeah, they're all about me.
And I actually did have a quick question. What
Yeah.
like, you talked about why you like Black Voices in Gaming as a concept, but like within the show itself and the stuff you saw and the people you talked to, like what was your favorite part? Like favorite moment from the show, like that you would maybe use to entice people to go watch it?
I think my favorite part from the show was and this is going to sound so corny, but the human connection, if that makes sense. Like the human connection with each of the developers and seeing them, as you brought up before, but seeing behind the developer kind of like facade, letting them just gush about not just their game, but other things like, talking about living in Tokyo, anime, talking about their little girls. Like, Adam talked about his little girl seeing the character for the first time, and she's very young, and she was like, Dada, that's me. And how amazing that moment was for him to be like, my little girl sees herself in this game.
Right.
You know? So like hearing those stories and just humanizing the whole process was, I think, my favorite part, and me being the one to get to do that and get to talk to them, is such an incredible experience compared to just watching, the ones in the past and seeing others. Because every time I've watched it in the past, I've been like, man, I would have asked them about this, or I would have asked them about that. So being able to actually go up and ask the questions that I wanted to have answered was really cool.
That's awesome. I also, one thing I appreciated, and you kind of like, when you were talking with Adam and you're previewing Delta, it happened, and it's like really proves how real this show is these developers are brave because they're not bringing just like only videos. They're sometimes bringing like demos that are being played live during the show.
Yeah.
And like things can go wrong and there could be glitches. But you got a really funny moment of, I guess Derek was playing at the time and like he was dying. And Adam was like, oh, I think there's a code in there somewhere to like refill your health, but like I don't want to necessarily help you out too much. But you can tell he's kind of like nervous about making the game maybe look too hard or like not look.
Yes.
But so they're putting their livelihood on the line.
Something. Yeah. They are. But you're absolutely right about that. It's their baby. You know what I'm saying? And they're putting it out there for the entire world to judge. And you're right. That's incredibly brave because I don't know if I could do that. I'm not sure if you guys know, but like IGN had a lot of like racist and kind of like just terrible comments.
I'm not surprised.
And I personally did not go watch it because I knew I would be angry on behalf of everybody who's worked so hard to create the show. Because I mean, like, I'm a host, but there are people who have been doing things in the background. This is like not the first time this show has come to fruition.
Yeah.
And it kills me when people are talking shit, but they're not making a fucking game. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right?
Like, it blows my mind. Like, where do you get the audacity? And then there are certain people who are like, well, are we going to make like an all white voices game show? No, we're not, because like 90% of the fucking industry is white men.
Yeah,
And I hate to be like that, but it's just like,
it's true.
fucking, are you clueless to what's happening? Like, the reason why these things happen is because there is a need. If people were getting recognized across all races, we wouldn't have to fucking make a show like this.
Yeah.
So, like, check your privilege.
No,
Sorry, I got a little heated there. But
there's
yeah, I was just like,
what was the joke is that there's two races. There's white and there's political. Like
yeah,
that's what these people think. And it's not worth
right.
it to even entertain what they have to say. Like
It's not,
YouTube comments
which is
are
why
a
I didn't even
disaster.
go over there.
Yeah, good.
Right. Why I didn't even go
Good.
over there. But just know we're going to keep making the fucking show.
Yeah.
Right. You can complain all you want to. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep spotlighting minority content creators because they deserve it. They deserve to be seen and heard. And fuck you for like any of the nasty shit that you've said.
Yeah. Agreed.
I
Totally.
couldn't say that on the show, but I can say that here because this is our show.
I think if you've got some haters out there, if you've got some people that are sort of blindly criticizing you for putting yourself out there, I think you're doing something right.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. If you ain't got haters, then you ain't doing something right.
Yeah.
People have to, like, I heard that as a joke, and it's true. It's true. People like hate to see certain groups succeed. I don't know what that mentality is, but like, you're doing amazing things. If people are hating on your shit, it's because they're jealous. It's because of something that's wrong with them, not with you. Keep creating. And this is for everybody who has been on the show in the past, everybody who's going to be on the show in the future, for all the little Black boys and girls out there, for all the Native American children out there, for like all the minorities who want to get into this industry. Keep at it, because there is a place for you. And Black Voices in Gaming is making a place. Like, they're continuously pushing forward for us and opening doors for us. And I think that's incredible. So stay tuned. There are going to be more showcases. And I'm just really happy that I got to be part of one of them.
Well said. I'm so
Awesome.
happy you're a part of it too. I'm so proud of you, D. It was a
Thank
great
you.
show. And to all our listeners listening right now, if you think you're at all interested, I highly recommend checking out the Black Voices in Gaming stream. It is a like a industry showcase like you don't normally get to see, and I mean that in the best way possible. Like, heart on their sleeve, very real, very down to earth, and it showcases some great developers you're not going to see anywhere else.
Yeah, you never would have heard of them had they not been on the showcase. So I think you're absolutely right, Darren.
Yeah.
Even the past shows. Go check out the past shows. Dude,
Yeah.
check them all out.
Yeah. And that will bring us to our main event, because there are other showcases that happen this week. Despite it not being E3, it is still Summer Games Fest, I guess. This thing that Jeff Keighley wants to happen so badly. And I think, you know what? He's doing it. It's being kind of successful. There were a lot of showcases. There was Freedom Games. There was Guerrilla Collective, Wholesome Games, Xbox Bethesda. There was PC Games Showcase. There was Future Games Showcase. There was a Capcom Showcase. There was a Devolver Showcase. Everybody's got a showcase. So what we'd like to do right now is spend a little bit of time talking about some of the showcases that we would like to highlight and go over some of the news that we think is important. There's too many to cover, so we're going to just kind of talk about what we found interesting. And I guess which one of us would like to start?
Lou, because I have talked a
Sure.
lot. So what showcase did you like?
Sure, I'll start. So past listeners or viewers or both may know that I'm not a big console gamer. I'm primarily a PC gamer. However, my showcase of choice for today was the Xbox Bethesda showcase. And of course, in no small part because of the connection with PC gaming that comes with Xbox and Windows gaming. So yeah, there was a lot of exciting things here. And I feel like the things in the showcase that I was most excited for were sort of the smaller announcements, or the not really the big flashy AAA things or new IPs. It was sort of these smaller things. So I'll go through a couple of them now. Hollow Knight Silk Song
Yes.
which Hollow Knight is a great game.
Yes.
Um, my
Sorry.
girlfriend loves the game too. I feel like it's yeah, it's a very accessible indie game. A lot of fun, great art style, and the sequel is it follows a new character, and we got a trailer of Silk Song at the showcase, which is fantastic. Some good Metroidvania action.
Yeah, because this is the first time it's been
Then of course,
confirmed for anything other than Switch, I think. I don't know if they officially
that's
confirmed it
right.
was coming to Xbox until that show, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Riot Games. So I love Valorant. I love playing Valorant on PC. And basically, there's a whole bunch of games that are coming to Xbox Game Pass very soon, including League of Legends, Wild Rift, Valorant, Legends of Runeterra, and Teamfight Tactics. Um,
It's a
so yeah,
lot.
a lot of these, yeah, and good free to play offerings too. Um, so yeah, and in terms of free to play, Valorant is very accessible. You don't have to buy anything, and but at the same time, it's got some of the best cosmetics, optional paid cosmetics of any game I've played.
Yeah.
So highly recommend you check out Valorant. It's a ton of fun. I especially like their escalation game mode, which is a take on the gun game, classic gun game style, where if you eliminate a player, you upgrade your gun to the next gun, and the first person to get to the end or first team to get to the end wins, which is a ton of fun. Good arcade action. Um, One of Darren's predictions from the last episode, sort of came
Sort
true,
of.
but your prediction was a double pepper. It was
Yeah.
very spicy. That we were gonna. I think your prediction was that we were gonna get Forza Motorsport
Yeah.
before the end of the year,
Yeah.
and so that's not
They
happening.
showed
But we
it.
did get a trailer.
They showed
You
it.
showed it, yeah, totally, yeah. So I think you get at least a half point on that one.
Yeah.
Um, Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is a game that I've dabbled in. A good
Mhm.
friend of mine is a pilot, and he's a big fan of flight simulator games. And I asked him one day, if you had someone who had no training whatsoever versus someone who had only played flight simulator at home,
Mhm.
how comfortable would you be with that second person trying to land a plane in an emergency situation?
Oh
and
man.
and he was like, yeah, if they're good at the game, they're going to be pretty set, like they'll be all right.
Wow.
Okay.
That's what he said, and he's a pilot, so
I
interesting.
mean, I guess that could be true for like driving games too, like where you're actually driving, like
Yeah.
like at an arcade, right? I
Well, I
guess
Totally,
guess
it especially, yeah, go ahead, Derek.
never
pilots
thought about that.
actually, do some practice on Flight Simulator as well. I'm pretty sure Microsoft works with a lot of flight and airplane companies to make sure it's as accurate as possible. So
Totally,
that's pretty
yeah, and
cool.
my buddy, yeah, super cool. And a total dedication to realism. My buddy's got a wicked setup with, he's got a yoke steering
Oh my
column
God.
and these dials and stuff, and an ultra wide monitor. It's crazy.
Well,
He's
he's
in
gonna have
it
to
to win
update
it,
that
bro.
setup since
Yeah,
they're adding
totally.
the Pelican from Halo as a plane you can fly.
We can all live our fantasy of being Master Chief.
Yeah.
Um, okay, next we've got Overwatch 2, which I'm not particularly excited for, and I wanted to bring it up because I think it's a grave error in marketing, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I don't understand why they're calling it Overwatch 2, and it seems like all they're doing is it's a patch for the
It's
game
balance patch with an
that will
update and
include
stuff.
some, yeah, that will include some like co-op options as well. But ultimately, it's just the same game. Some things are reworked. It's sort of like an expansion pack, but they're calling it Overwatch 2. And I
That
feel
is
like
weird.
I would wager I'm not the only one who's confused by that
Mhm.
marketing. So I'm going to say that's a bit of a marketing blunder by Blizzard, who is fresh off of the blunder of Diablo Immortal, which has been in the reviews, it's gotten some scathing reviews over its
Yeah.
microtransactions. So they're on a bit of a downward slope, but they make classic WoW, so they can do no wrong in my eyes. Um, um, we've got Fallout 76, The Pit, which my girlfriend loves. Fallout 76, rough
Oh my
start,
God, there's
of course,
people playing
everyone
Fallout
knows.
76 still.
Yes, there absolutely are. Super rough start, but she enjoys the game, and
Okay.
there's going to be an expansion with the classic location, The Pit from Fallout 3.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. Um, and then we also had, of course, well, before I get to the, of course, Gunfire Reborn, which is a great indie shooter. It's a roguelike shooter, which has been on Steam for some time. And yeah, I believe it's coming to Game Pass. Yeah, it's coming to Game Pass.
Mhm.
So that's a great game. I love roguelike games, especially roguelike shooters. And this one is a particularly good one. Um, and then we had some Diablo 4.
Mhm.
They showed off a new class, talked a little bit more about the game, which now has a release date of next year, not a date per se, but it's coming out next year,
Yeah.
which is pretty exciting. I hope that is ends up being good.
Mhm.
They recently posted a job posting for someone to manage their microtransaction store, which is
Oh
not a
God,
good look
not a good sign.
for Diablo 4. Yeah, not a good sign, but hopefully the gameplay makes up for it.
Mhm.
So we'll see. It looks good right now, so we'll see. And then last but not least, I wanted to mention the Persona announcements, which I am the most excited about. Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 5 Royal
Royal.
are coming to Xbox Game Pass, and PC as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, Persona 5 on PC, I have been wishing and dreaming for years. Came out over 5 years ago now, and I played it on the PS4, but I want to get those juicy high res, high refresh rate graphics on my computer, and play it again and jump right in. And it's got, I think Persona 5 probably has the best art style, maybe of any game I've ever played.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there. If not
Wow.
the best, it's definitely up there.
Matt will be very happy to hear you
Yeah.
say
So
that.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
I
you
know
will.
Matt really digs that one. But yeah, so that was the most exciting one for me. And again, games that have already been released in the past that are coming back, that's what I'm most excited about. It's true. Um, Something like that coming to PC is a big deal because historically we've on PC we just haven't gotten many of those games. Persona 4 has been on PC, but
Mhm.
other than that, you got to emulate them, right? So
Right.
Persona 5 on PC, so excited. Um,
So
yeah, and that's it for me.
so those were a lot of cool games. Also, I'm happy you picked the games that people would not. I mean, you mentioned Forza and stuff, but like the Persona and Hollow Knight and something Gunfire. I can't remember the name of it.
Fire
Um,
Reborn.
Gunfire Reborn. Not games that you normally hear being highlighted at a Microsoft press conference. So
Yeah.
I don't want this to go too long because I'm trying to be mindful of time, but I would like to know, Lou, how you kind of felt about the conference overall. Like as a PC gamer, like how satisfied were you with Microsoft's performance?
Very satisfied. I am really happy that Microsoft as an entity is starting to connect the dots when it comes to PC gaming and Xbox. It For much of Xbox history, they've always been two separate things, uh, and it feels like they're building that bridge even more every year. And I think that's kind of the world we all want to live in, isn't it? Where we can
Yeah.
play these games on whatever we want. More freedom for the consumer is
Mhm.
always my number one thing when it comes to games and game retail and just retail in general. I mean, exclusives are great for sales, but if we could all have the choice, I'm sure if an Xbox person wanted to play God of War, they would love to play that game, but they don't have a PlayStation, and
Yeah.
that's the gotcha moment, right? And I understand why they do it, and they got to do that to make their money. And And it makes sense from a business perspective. But wouldn't we all like to play every game we'd ever want on one thing? So as a consumer, that's what I would love to have,
Yeah.
and that's why I particularly like how they're building that bridge even more every year.
Yeah, you definitely
It makes
seem
sense though.
it does.
I'm
It
sorry.
does.
For
No,
for
no.
Xbox and Microsoft, it makes sense. Like they go hand in hand. So
Yeah,
Totally.
it's really interesting how Microsoft, because they never used to be like a, I guess I would call like a consumer. They were never really viewed as a consumer friendly company for quite some time. They just seem some like big conglomerate. It seems they're really like doubling down on trying to have like a good public opinion of themselves by having Game Pass and by having all this stuff on PC for a bunch of people to play it. And I personally really hope that works out for them, because I would like to see being consumer friendly show an increase in sales, because that would
Yep.
be basically mean for everybody else like, oh, being consumer friendly makes us money. And well, if we want to make more money, we got to be nicer to the consumer. Wouldn't that be a great conclusion to
right.
make? Um,
Yeah, it would be.
Absolutely.
so Destiny, I'll ask you, because you
Yeah.
also,
Hmm.
as someone who, you are a PC gamer as well, actually, but I don't know if you would
Yes.
consider yourself like a Microsoft person. How do you feel about
I
the
don't.
show?
I wasn't as excited as Lou was about it. I feel like the pacing was a bit long for some of the games they announced, which really kind of annoyed me because I feel like at this point, like Xbox and Bethesda should have their pacing down.
Right.
And it felt like they started off with a big game and ended with a big game, which was really smart for them,
Yeah.
right? But I felt like even though it was great to get those little announcements in the middle, it almost kind of felt like they were trying to fluff it out because they had paid for a certain amount of time
Yeah.
and they didn't have enough stuff to put in it. So they were like,
Yeah.
okay, let's just grab anything we can that looks decent, looks good, and stick it in there and like pad it out in the middle. That's really what it felt like to me. Um, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I wasn't upset about it. I wasn't angry about it, but I was just like, oh, okay. If they didn't have like the first announcement and the last announcement, I think I just kind of would have been like, when it
Yeah.
came to compared to some of the other um, showcases like Gorilla Collective and everything like that. I'm starting to want shows that show a lot of variety,
Mhm.
and I just feel like these AAA companies are falling to the wayside with that. They just don't have enough variety, and it's kind of like the same shit. And then
Yeah.
it's like we're going to do like a sequel to this game and a sequel to that game, and it's like, okay, that's great. I've seen it. You know what I mean? I want something new, and you guys have the assets and the money to make stuff new, but you're not. So I tend to like not care so much. I watch it because it's Xbox and it's Bethesda, and you should watch it if you're doing what we do,
Mhm.
talking about showcases. But other than that, I they don't make a lot of announcements that get me super excited. They
Yeah.
don't show enough games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with the,
Sure.
like you said, the AAA kind of showcase in general, because they're trying to appeal to a very like general stereotypical gamer demographic, so they're showing those kinds of announcements. If you have a more like eclectic taste or a more diverse taste in genres, then you're probably not going to be super excited by what they have to show. And also, I want to bring up, at least for me personally, the Microsoft press conference. A lot of the stuff that I was most excited for was actually stuff that's not even Microsoft or PC exclusive, like the Persona announcements. That's also coming to PS5. The game Cocoon, which what they showed, and I want to shout out Cocoon because it looked super cool. That's also coming to Switch. And same with Hollow Knight. But I don't want to be too upset about that, because that also shows that Microsoft is trying to allow, you know, they're not trying to do the what I would call predatory thing that Sony's doing, which is make everything exclusive, everything closed off. Um, and Microsoft did something weird. They had a second showcase today, which was like an extended showcase at some of the stuff they showed off so they could spend more time. And they talked about some other things. And I'll move on very quickly because, again, I want to be mindful for time. But I wanted to shout out Microsoft actually, because at the end of their extended press conference, they talked about a game they talked about previously, but didn't talk about this first conference, was Stalker 2. Not Shadow of Chernobyl. They're calling this one Heart of Chernobyl. Because this is a Ukrainian developer making a game about not about Ukraine, but it's a story that takes place in Chernobyl in Ukraine. And they had a really emotional video from the developers that they showed off at this extended press conference. And I kind of just want to shout out Microsoft for doing that. And you could tell, I wish I could remember her name, but the woman that was hosting the press conference, and she hosted the previous one as well, you could tell she was tearing up. Like, she was getting emotional herself talking about it. If anyone like wants to support Ukraine and wants to know how Ukrainian developers, what they have to deal with making games, holy crap, look up the Stalker 2 video that came out today. It is powerful, and it does show that Ukraine still needs a lot of support.
Yeah.
And on that somber note, I now have to awkwardly transition to the next showcase. So Destiny, I'd like to pass it over to you. What showcase would you like to talk about?
So I just wanted to step back just a second.
Yeah, sure. I know. I did the weird
what you were talking about
host thing.
No. The reason why I wanted to step back is for something like that, which I did not catch because I didn't watch the second one. I really wish they would have taken out some of the shit they put in the first one and put something like that in the first one, where they knew they were going to get the most eyes on it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I love that they did that, but I also feel like that could have definitely been something that started your show and would have been absolutely incredible, and you could have cut down on some of the fluff. But anyways, okay, enough with that. I'm not gonna like bitch about it anymore, but just so you know, Xbox.
But you're right. Thank you for saying that.
But so I watched the Freedom Games Showcase. And listen, I know you guys are gonna be like, that doesn't count because you work for them, but we watched their entire showcase the first time they were at E3.
Yeah, we were fans of Freedom Games for a long time before.
We were fans beforehand, yeah. And if you go back and you watch our whole E3 showcase, you'll see a majority of the games that we talk about were from the indie games, were from the Freedom Games Showcase. So I always love what they're doing because there's so much variety, right? And they're growing, and they're like trying to add more variety. So like in upcoming showcases, there are going to be more female developers, more developers of color. I love that they're moving towards that, right? Because I know some of the comments were like, there's just a bunch of bored white guys talking about games. And I was like, listen, guys, it's a work in progress, you know, because we do have a lot of developers who are people of color, right?
Yeah.
But their games just aren't ready to be shown yet. So stay tuned, all right? Like, chill.
Yeah.
But some of the games that I was super excited about, and I'm going to shout out this game because it's done incredibly well, is and you know what? As I said that, it just totally slipped my mind, and I was like, that's not the right name. Symphony of War.
Okay.
Which is doing incredibly well because I was there's so many games, guys. There's so many games they have, and I was like, I gotta say the right name. Symphony of War. By the way, if you guys want to, there's a contest going on right now where they're giving out free keys. So I'm gonna make sure I give that link to Matt. I think you have until Tuesday. So this goes up tomorrow. So maybe until Friday. No, until Friday. So you have until Friday if you watch this to go try and get yourself. Yeah, to go. I'll just give it to you. To go, like I'll just give you the link. But
I'm still gonna write
it. Okay, to check out the game. It's incredible. There were so many games, and unlike Lou, who is like super prepared and gave us so many details, I'm just going to name off the games, the titles, and then you guys can go check them out. So we had Good Heavens, 9 Years of Shadow, Humanities, One Lonely Outpost, Retreat to Inan, Symphony of War, the Nephilim Saga, which I just talked about, that has the contest right now, Broken Places, which is amazing. I'm just going to talk about this a little bit. It definitely gives me, God, what was that game called? Strange Life is Strange vibes. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's like incredible. Like it's my shit. I love it. I cannot wait to play it. Neon Blight, Tyrant's Blessing, Monster Tribe, Against All Odds, Monorail Stories, which is currently having their Kickstarter. They're on their last 24 hours. So if you like games that are narrative driven, you can actually play this game co-op where your choices affect the other person's gameplay, which is absolutely really dope. So go check them out. I'll put their thing down in the bottom. We also had Sands of Aura, Terracotta, Voltaire the Vegan Vampire, which is hilarious.
Voltaire the Vegan Vampire?
Yeah.
Man.
It's hilarious. The name is hilarious, so you know the game is like hilarious. Death Drive, Mars Base, Blood and Zombies. So it was slam packed with the games seriously that were in there. And then like I love that. So some of the games that we also have on our roster were in Wholesome Games. So that was also a showcase that I really, really love. Derek was a part of that. Derek Fields is the one we've had on the show a couple of times, and he's the one who hosted Black Voices in Gaming with me. We had Mail Time, which is super cute, totally my vibe. We also had Critter Crops, and I believe we had Hello Good Boy that was on there, or Good Heavens. Maybe it was Hello Good Boy. I can't remember. Don't get mad at me if I'm wrong. Look them both up though, because they're both incredible games. I'm a PC gamer, but I'm more so like an indie gamer because I feel like they're taking chances that AAA aren't. They're creating so many cool and eclectic games and different styles of play that give you like a different experience. Because I am not an FPS person. I am a survival tactic person, which V Rising is amazing. I don't know if you guys have checked that out, but you get to be a vampire and fuck shit up. It's incredible. But yeah, I'm so happy that they're getting these long showcases to showcase like their entire catalog of games. I know for Freedom, like everybody from the team, once it started streaming, we all sat down and had a stream party and watched everything. And it was such a great showcase. Like it was so well put together. I had nothing to do with that, but it was incredible. Like if you compare it to last year, like so well polished. So if you didn't get to see that, check that out. Also, Wholesome Games was incredible. I co-streamed that with our homies and our family over at Level 1 Gaming. Big shout out to them for letting me join their co-stream. Don't focus on the fact that I keep asking if the girl's skin is pink, because I was just very, very confused because she has pink hair and it looked like her skin was pink as well. And I just was not sure. So you know how I hyper focus on things. So every couple of minutes I'm like, but is it pink? Like, I can't tell. Are you sure that's not like the lighting? So please don't focus on that. Focus on the show itself.
Ignore Destiny's voice. Just listen to the games.
Just ignore me. Yes, please. I know this year is really big for frogs for some reason. There was a lot of frog games. Frogs and bears. Frogs and bears. So
and birds too.
Cute, cuddly bears and birds too. Yep. So there was a lot. Yeah, because if I think about last year, there was a lot more different things going on. I think we had like fruit and vegetables that were like fighting and stuff.
There were a lot of cats this year, but I think last year also had a lot of cats too. Last year was a lot of cats.
Oh yeah, last year had a ton of cats. Yeah, this year not as much. I think frogs like literally beat out everything.
Like Frog Gun,
wild,
Passepartout 2. There was like some frog skating game.
A Frog's Tale.
That
was another one.
Rivertail.
That one looks really cute.
Rivertail.
There's Rivertail and there's a Frog's Tail.
Oh yeah,
Frog's Tail is a different game.
Rivertail was a fish, not a frog. I got that.
Yes.
That was my bad.
A frog's yeah. No, it's
but there were a lot of frogs.
Cool. I mean, the fact that you even like remembered half of those, that was incredible. Kudos to you. But yeah, so Wholesome Game, Freedom Games. If you guys are into indie games, please go check those out. Some incredible titles coming out. Multiplayer, MMOs, just like all kinds of stuff is coming out. So yeah, those were my favorite because just of the variety.
You say that you're like, oh, you're into indie games, and you are into indie games. I said that like you're not, but you are into indie games a lot. But when you hear like, oh, it's indie games, and you're like, oh, it's called the Wholesome Direct, you assume that and I'm using the royal you, not you, Destiny. You don't assume.
In general, no.
In general, we assume that this is going to be a lot of like cutesy, very like easygoing games, and of course, there are a lot of those at the Wholesome Direct, but there are still some pretty hardcore games. Like, there were some really intense RPGs shown off. There was one game that
Yep.
really stood out to me that I liked was called Terra Nil, which was like a the
Yeah.
show opened with this, and it's a wholesome game because you're like rebuilding the world and terraforming the world, but it looked like there was a lot of depth to it. Like, so don't just assume because it's called Wholesome Direct it's going to be nothing but games that are just like cutesy easy going, which if you like cutesy easy going games, you will not be disappointed. It has those too. But there was some intense stuff, and like just
No, I
to
think
show
you're right.
you
Absolutely.
like so many freaking games. Like, I made a list of all the games that I was interested in, and there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 games that I'm like, I want to buy those games just in the Wholesome Direct.
Wish list. I should have said that.
Yeah,
It's always
wishlist all
important
those
to
games on
wishlist these
Steam.
games, guys. Wishlist them. It really helps with the algorithm. That's something that we try to push for all the indie devs because they need it. They need it. So wishlist them. But you're absolutely right. Wholesome games. It's supposed to be games that the entire family can play.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's casual or like cutesy, like that does not negate the fact that there might be like some really deep lore in the games and a lot of depth in them. So it's not just for girls, it's not just for like kids, it's for the whole family. It's just like less blood and guts and I'm going to shoot you in your face.
So, and Lou, you were saying, I think before, you did not see the Wholesome Direct, right?
I did not, unfortunately, no. Yeah.
Well,
I missed
but
out.
You can because it's still there.
Yeah.
This is homework for you. This is a call to you
Your
and
sign.
to everyone out there. Listen to this Wholesome Direct. God himself.
They definitely have a
is
little bit of
telling you.
everything, right? They definitely, yeah. That God being me and Darren.
Yeah.
Go watch it. But there's definitely, if you're a gamer, you'll find something that you're interested in, even if you're watching wholesome gaming. I mean, like if you're only into FPS, you probably won't. But you know,
there were no wholesome.
If you want
FPS,
to expand your horizon, yeah. If you want to expand your horizon, and I implore you to expand your horizon.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah.
Please do.
So Darren.
Yes, Destiny.
Which showcase did you want to tell us about?
Ooh, I wanted to talk about the Guerrilla Collective because I found this last year too. Last year I swore up and down that the Guerrilla Collective was by far the best showcase that we got, and I think this year is the same thing. I am a hardcore sweaty hands gamer who loves me some AAA games. Oh, my palms, they get wet when I play the games. I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West right now on very hard difficulty. I am a man. Oh Jesus, I'm saying all of this ironically. I hope everyone who's listening knows I don't believe any of this stuff that I'm saying. But the point is I like hardcore games. But I feel like year after year now, I'm getting increasingly disappointed with the showcases that are coming from the AAA scene. And the Guerrilla Collective just showed an unrelenting list of incredible looking indie games. So shout out to Justin and the Mix and Candace. Did an incredible job hosting this event. Very funny. Justin called it like the least pretentious show you'll see, and I agree with that because it was just super like heart on their sleeve, down to earth showcase as well. I'm gonna just read a list of game names right here. We got Ugly, Signalis, Madison, Industria, South of the Circle, The Last Worker, 9 Years of Shadows, Rivertales Stronger Together, Frogun, Flat Eye, Shashingo. These are some incredible looking games, and all those games I listed, very different genres. They showed a bunch of survival horror. They showed a bunch of RPGs. They showed a bunch of like cute indie games. They showed a bunch of like weird rhythm games. Like Also, shout out in terms of rhythm games. Shout out to Melatonin from the Wholesome Direct, the game they ended with. I'm buying that day one. They're making me more Rhythm Heaven. I want more Rhythm Heaven. Just incredible. I don't know how the hell they amass such a good list of games. And I think also what benefits these kinds of conferences is that there's no expectations. And maybe it's expectations that ruins the AAA showcases for me, because I go into a lot of these showcases like expecting things like, oh, I want this kind of game, or I want them to do this.
Right.
And there's so much money on the line with these big giant showcases that like you're always going to get disappointed. They're not always going to make the kind of thing you want to see. Well, Guerrilla Collective is here to satisfy all the niche experiences that you know you wanted and haven't been getting, or you didn't even know you wanted in the first place. They have games for everyone, and it's not because they're making some kind of Goldilocks game that appeals to everybody. No, 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 no. They have games that are hyper focused on one concept and doing that concept to the best of their abilities, which is the kind of game that I like.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Genre by genre. I love it because they definitely present genre by genre.
They do.
Didn't we host something at one point? Didn't we like host a little segment for the mix? Was it the mix?
We did do something for the mix. We did host for the mix one time.
We did do something. Yeah. I think we did turn-based tactical games.
We did. we did.
We definitely did.
I actually don't remember exactly the context of what we were doing. It was, but it was fun.
I think we were just presenting the segment. That's what we were doing.
But like, I'm so happy that we were like, I'm so proud to be a part of it, and to some degree, because like I truly believe that like this is, I think, year 4 of the Guerrilla Collective, and they gotta keep going, because like,
oh, they will.
I need to see more of these indie games succeed, because like I said, increasingly I feel like the experiences that I want from video games are not being satisfied by AAA games that try too hard to appeal to a mass market, because they have to. It costs them so much goddamn money to make these games that they have to appeal to as many people as possible. But when you've got a smaller team and a smaller budget, you can take more risks. So yeah, just once again, great showcase. Destiny, you watched it too. What did you think of the Guerrilla Collective?
Oh, I'm down for the Guerrilla Collective because I like variety. Like I think one of the things is that like what you brought up, and then I like kind of piggybacked off of, is like it's based genre by genre. So like I know that there are going to be genres of games that I'm going to like really like, and that's what I hyper focus on. But I love the fact that I can do that. Like be like, oh, that's cool. But like I can't wait. Oh yeah, the next segment is gonna be like RPG narrative driven. And I'm super excited because that's my shit. I love that. So I was really excited about it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it last year, and I agree with you. I do think it's one of the best, well-paced shows that has been put on 2 years consecutively in a row.
Yeah, they also got some games that even like defy genre, like Shishingo, especially one of the games that they I don't think they ended with it, but it was like one of the last games that like on my list. There was close to the end. Shishingo's a game that is a tourism game. You're basically like walking around Japan, photographing things around Japan, and the concept of the game is that it's teaching you Japanese. So
I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, like you're taking photos and it will tell you what it is in Japanese, and they'll have like a lexicon and a grammar book that like explains the breakdown of the word, and they have a mode later where you can like practice. They'll give you a word in Japanese, and now you have to go find it in the city and photograph it. And the way they do it, in my opinion, looks way more fun than trying to learn in Duolingo. Duolingo has a lot of issues trying to learn like East Asian languages because the grammar and writing structure is so different. But this game looks like it's, because that's the whole focus, is this one language, looks like a much more effective way to learn Japanese than something like Duolingo. Like
I think they've like stumbled onto an incredible franchise there.
Yeah,
because I'm expecting a French version. I'm expecting a Russian version. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. There's so many languages. There's so many things you could do.
there's so
And
many languages. You could just keep making games for like the next
yeah.
20 years.
And like I don't want to keep shitting on AAA games showcases because like I did enjoy watching the Xbox showcase. I'm not gonna lie. Like I do like those kinds of games too. Um, but like you're not gonna get that kind of experience at a one of the big three showcases. You're only gonna find those things by looking at the Guerrilla Collective and Wholesome Direct. And also, sorry, weird side note about the Wholesome Direct. I forgot to say, and I wanted to bring this up. They had these freaking adorable animated music video shorts throughout the Wholesome Direct.
Yes.
And I'm like, can that be a video game? Like, I was really hoping that was going to turn into a game because I loved the art style so much. It was like a girl trying
I
to
thought it
go on
was
a
a video
picnic date
game.
with her bunny friend.
Her
And
little bunny friend. At first, I didn't know what was going on. So if
yeah,
you watch the co-stream, I'm like, what, did they just cut it off? Like, what, was that a mistake?
yeah,
Because I didn't know what was happening, but I do love that they did that.
I was so disappointed though when it turned out that it was just for fun. I'm like,
Yeah, it was just for fun.
make a
But I
game without
like
its
that.
title.
That's the first
Yeah.
time you've ever seen that. So they do, because they don't have a lot of speakers and things like that. It's like bam, 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 game in your face, game in your face. It was a nice kind of like cut to the pacing, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to go back on really quickly because I know we're like running out of time. Shout out to Xbox for having a more diverse crew of people presenting.
Yes.
Because kudos to you. Definitely noticed it. You're doing something right. That was really nice.
Yeah.
Totally,
Don't want to be
yeah.
hard on Microsoft because like I think they're making steps in the right direction. Like I feel good. I feel good about what I saw. But yeah. So before we wrap this up, Lou, I want to pass it back to you. Like any last words? I feel like I'm talking so much, and this is the problem when I come back on is I freaking monopolize the airwaves.
No, you're fine.
No, that's all good. We need more Darren.
We do need more Darren.
You know, I couldn't agree more about what we're saying here about AAA games and indie games. The games I was most excited for from the Xbox and Bethesda showcase were those smaller titles.
Yeah.
And Persona 5 is far from an indie game, but
But yeah.
it's one of those. It's not exactly what we're talking about when it comes to North American AAA games.
No.
It's a little bit different from that, and those sort of odder games, sort of off the beaten path is what I love about gaming, and I've always loved indie games because that's where you get the innovation, that's where you get the risks. So AAA games didn't particularly excite me either, and it's been a while since. Geez, I guess MLB The Show would have been the last AAA game that I bought, and that one was $90. It's a hard 90 Canadian dollars. That's a hard sell, but I went for it. And indie games, when you can get a great game made by passionate people for $20, I mean, you can't beat that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't understand why they cost so much and you don't get a cartridge anymore. Like that kills me. I hate paying like $70 or $80 for a game and I don't have something physical and tangible. Like what am I spending the money on?
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
This is it,
anyway.
Like Hollow Knight, $20. I've played that for over 100 hours.
Yeah, great game. So many good indie games. My Steam library is littered with them. Fantastic. Yeah, and some of my favorite games are indie games. So play more indie games. That's my lasting message.
I love that. Play more indie games. Go support more indie developers. They need it. They need it.
Destiny, any last words before we wrap this up?
Xbox Bethesda, work on your pacing. But I think you did an incredible job by like being more diverse with your presenters and all of that. That was really, really, really good to see because we've come a long way from having all male presenters because women love games too. And, different minorities love games. So seeing them up there and presenting is such a powerful thing for us. Because who knows, maybe one day I'll be up there presenting, you know? And at one point, I never would have thought that that could be possible, but we're making strides and making changes. And I love that for us. I love that for the game industry and just the community at large. So that's all I wanted to say. Also, be kind. People are working really hard and they don't need your shitty attitude. Like, if you're just a shitty person, be shitty in your own space.
Yeah. If you don't like the games that you're seeing, why don't you try making your own game? Put that energy, take that energy, instead of hating on someone, and turn that energy into something creative. And maybe you can make the game that you always want to play. Yeah.
Concepts and characters. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But that brings us to the end of the show. I'm honestly, like, this episode could have been like 8 hours long because there are so many good games that we saw.
Yes.
And I wish that we could spend more time on each of them, but like, at the very least, listen to the games we listed, and please go watch the Wholesome Games Direct. Go watch the Guerrilla Collective at the very least, because you might find something that you never knew you wanted. Because those trailers speak for themselves. And also go watch the Xbox and Bethesda conference, because they did a good job. They did a pretty good job. I'm happy with the direction they're going. And go watch the Freedom Games conference.
The Freedom one. Go watch it. Freedom also had games in Guerrilla and Wholesome, so regardless, you're going to see some of their stuff. But yeah, just go watch them all. Yeah. You know what I mean?
This was actually a pretty good week.
And go wishlist
them all on Steam. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for everyone listening. As we sign off, Dee, where can people find you?
They can find me here, or at DMBC32. Can I just say really quickly, Darren, it was so nice having you back.
It was
incredibly nice having you back, and I hope that you come back more often, you know, instead of sitting on the couch for 7 hours, because we miss you. So yeah, but you can find me at DMBC32 over at Twitter. That's probably where I'm most active for this kind of stuff. But if you just want to like laugh and see me do some stupid stuff, head on over to my Instagram at Liquor Store Diva, or my TikTok at Liquor Store Diva. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. And Lou, where can people find you?
You can find me at Mad Seedling on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. But Instagram is where I'm most active. New videos every week. And of course, on Spotify, Apple Music, and the rest.
Thank you very much.
Where can people find you, Darren?
You'll never find me. And that brings us to the very end. Once again, thank you all for listening. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you next week. Deuces.